We've traced the complete sequence across 5 episodes, every piece, every text, every condition. Ezekiel laid out 2,600 years ago. And now it's time to put the whole picture together and answer the only question that matters. How close are we? I'm going to walk you through the full Ezekiel 38 checklist, what's already been fulfilled, what hasn't happened yet, and what comes next in the sequence. And by the end, I think you'll see why this series has changed the way I read every headline. Here's what we've covered. Episode 1. The current war is not Ezekiel 38. 4 conditions in the text prove it. The coalition hasn't assembled. There's no ground invasion for plunder. America is actively fighting alongside Israel, and Iran and Turkey are adversaries, not allies. None of Ezekiel's conditions are met. Episode 2. The Batach bombshell. The Hebrew word most teachers translate as peace actually means military confidence. Israel may already be dwelling in Batach right now, Iron Dome, Arrow 3, David's sling, nuclear capability. The Ezekiel 38 invasion may not require a peace treaty first. Episode 3. The missing nations. Israel's closest neighbors are absent from Ezekiel's coalition, possibly neutralized through a prior conflict described in Psalm 83, or through diplomatic normalization via the Abraham Accords. Episode 4. God's 2 prophecies about Iran. Jeremiah 49 predicts the breaking of Elam's bow, Iran's military destruction, but Jeremiah 49:39 promises restoration. Iran's underground church, millions of believers growing despite persecution, may be the fulfillment nobody talks about. Episode 5. America's silence. Ezekiel 38:13 describes wealthy Western nations watching the invasion and issuing a diplomatic protest. If the merchants of Tarshish and their young lions represent Britain and its colonial offspring, America does nothing when the moment comes. 5 episodes, 5 pieces of the puzzle, and now the complete picture. I'm going to lay out every prophetic condition in 2 columns. What's done and what's not. And then we're going to look at the 5 views on when Ezekiel 38 happens in relation to the rapture. Because for believers watching this, the timeline isn't just academic. It's personal. Let's start with what's already been checked off the list. Column 1, what's already happened. Prophecy and sequence, verified against the text. First, Israel reborn. This is the foundational condition that makes everything else possible. For Ezekiel 38 to happen, Israel has to exist as a nation. In 1948, after being scattered for 1,878 years, Israel declared independence. In 1967, Jerusalem was restored under Israeli sovereignty for the first time since the Babylonian destruction. These aren't interpretations. They're dates on a calendar. Second, the technology for global surveillance and economic control now exists. Revelation 13 describes a system where buying and selling can be restricted per person in real time. That was impossible in John's century. It's being built in ours. CBDC infrastructure, digital identity systems, biometric verification, over 130 countries are developing the architecture. This isn't a direct Ezekiel 38 condition, but it's a sequence marker. It tells us what era we're in. Third, Iran's military power is being broken. The current conflict, Iran's conventional military capability, degraded through sustained strikes, maps to Jeremiah 49's description of breaking Elam's bow. If this is Jeremiah 49, it's the step right before the Ezekiel 38 conditions become possible. The sequence is moving. Fourth, Israel is arguably dwelling in Batach. As we explored in episode 2, the Hebrew word betach means military confidence, not peace. Israel in 2026 has the most sophisticated missile defense system on Earth. Iron Dome intercepts short-range rockets. Arrow 3 handles ballistic missiles in space. David's sling covers the gap between them. Israel has undeclared nuclear capability. That's betach, the overconfidence of a nation that believes its defenses are sufficient. Fifth, the inner ring neighbors are being neutralized. The Abraham Accords have normalized relations between Israel and multiple Arab nations. The current military operations have degraded Hamas, Hezbollah, and Syrian-based threats. The nations missing from Ezekiel 38, Israel's immediate neighbors, are either at peace with Israel or militarily incapacitated. 5 conditions, all either fulfilled or in active motion. And the weight of that should hit you. Because 20 years ago, several of these conditions were theoretical. Today, they're on the news. But the checklist isn't done, and the conditions that remain are the ones that determine how close we really are. Because what hasn't happened yet is what separates. We can see it from here, from it's happening now. Let's look at column 2. What still has to happen before Ezekiel 38 can unfold. First, the Gog coalition hasn't assembled. Russia, Iran, Turkey, Libya, and Sudan haven't formed a unified military alliance aimed at Israel. Russia and Iran have a strategic partnership. Turkey is drifting from NATO, but they are not yet operating as the coordinated invasion force Ezekiel describes. And as we noted in episode 1, Iran and Turkey are currently adversaries. Iran has conducted strikes inside Turkish-influenced territory. For them to become allies in the same coalition requires a fundamental geopolitical realignment. Second, there has been no ground invasion of Israel for plunder. Ezekiel 38 verse 12 describes armies coming to take a spoil and to take a prey. The current conflict is aerial and missile-based. Ezekiel describes boots-on-the-ground forces descending on the mountains of Israel to plunder wealth, livestock, and goods. That hasn't happened. Third, America hasn't stepped back. As we explored in the last episode, Ezekiel 38 verse 13 describes Western powers watching from the sideline. Right now, the United States is Israel's most active military partner. Something has to change: a political shift, an economic crisis, a devastating domestic event, or the rapture itself before America assumes the spectator posture Ezekiel describes. Fourth, the supernatural intervention hasn't occurred. Ezekiel 38 verse 22 describes God destroying the Gog coalition with fire, brimstone, hailstones, and pestilence. This is the conclusive, unmistakable, globally visible act of divine power that ends the invasion. It hasn't happened, which means the invasion it concludes hasn't happened either. And beyond Ezekiel 38 itself, there's the aftermath. Ezekiel 39 verses 9 to 10 says Israel will burn the invaders' weapons for 7 years. Ezekiel 39 verses 12 to 16 says it takes Israel 7 months to bury the dead, so many bodies that they set aside an entire valley and designate professional burial teams to cleanse the land. 7 years of burning weapons, 7 months of burying the dead. The scale of this invasion and its aftermath is unlike anything in recorded military history. So where does this leave us? 5 conditions fulfilled, 4 remaining. The gap between the 2 columns is narrower than it has ever been in history, and the trajectory, the direction of the sequence, is unmistakable. But the question believers care about most isn't just when does Ezekiel 38 happen? It's where does the rapture fit? Because that changes everything about how we watch. Scholars have debated the timing of Ezekiel 38 for centuries. There are 5 major views, and I want to walk through each one honestly, because I think you deserve to hear the arguments, not just the conclusion. View 1: before the rapture. This is the view that places Ezekiel 38 in our immediate future, potentially before the tribulation period begins. The argument is that God's supernatural victory over the Gog coalition creates the global shock that sets the stage for the Antichrist's rise. The world sees God intervene, but instead of turning to him, they follow a false leader who takes credit for the peace that follows. If this view is correct, we could witness Ezekiel 38 in our lifetime and be raptured before or during the aftermath. View 2: early tribulation. This places the invasion in the first half of Daniel's 70th week. The 7 years of burning weapons in Ezekiel 39 would span the entire tribulation period, which many scholars find compelling mathematically. The argument is that Ezekiel 38 kickstarts the tribulation events. God reveals himself to Israel, and the countdown to the end begins in earnest. View 3: mid-tribulation. Some scholars tie the Gog invasion to the abomination of desolation at the midpoint of the tribulation. This is a minority view, but it has textual support in the way Ezekiel's language echoes Daniel's descriptions of that period. View 4: between the tribulation and the millennium. This places Ezekiel 38 after Christ's return, but before the millennial kingdom is fully established, a final mopping-up action. The argument is that dwelling securely fits best in a post-tribulation Israel under divine protection. View 5: end of the millennium. Revelation 20 verse 8 explicitly names Gog and Magog in the final rebellion after the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Some scholars argue Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20 describe the same event. Here's where I stand, and I hold this with open hands. I lean toward views 1 or 2. The evidence we've traced in this series, the current geopolitical trajectory, the Batach condition potentially met, the inner ring neutralized, Iran's military being broken, all of it is happening now, not in some distant future. not after a millennial kingdom, now, has made a compelling case that the sequence we're watching, Jeremiah 49, then Psalm 83, then Ezekiel 38, could unfold rapidly once the first domino falls. And for those who hold the pre-tribulation rapture position, that means the blessed hope could be even closer than the invasion itself. So let's answer the question, how close are we? Here's what I know. 5 prophetic conditions are fulfilled or in active motion. 4 remain. The gap is narrower than at any point in human history. Here's what I can see. The geopolitical trajectory is moving in exactly the direction Ezekiel described. Iran's military is being degraded. That's Jeremiah 49 in motion. The inner ring neighbors are neutralized or normalizing. That clears the path for Ezekiel's outer ring coalition. Israel's military confidence has never been higher. Betach may already be met. And America's engagement with Israel is at a level that Ezekiel says won't last. Here's what would need to happen next. Iran's current regime changes, and the new leadership, whether through revolution, collapse, or realignment, moves toward Russia rather than away from it. Turkey makes its pivot from NATO toward the coalition Ezekiel described, and the seeds of that are already planted in Turkey's relationships with Russia and its increasing distance from the Western Alliance. Libya and Sudan, both in states of ongoing instability, align with the coalition, and America somehow steps back through politics, crisis, or divine appointment. None of those developments would shock a geopolitical analyst today. Every single one of them is plausible within the current trajectory. That's not speculation, that's sequence. But here's what transforms the analysis from academic to personal. If Ezekiel 38 is approaching, and the evidence strongly suggests the conditions are assembling, then the blessed hope is even closer, because the rapture precedes the tribulation. And whether Ezekiel 38 falls just before, during, or after the tribulation begins, the catching away of the church comes first. That means every headline we read, every alliance we watch form, every geopolitical shift that checks another condition off the list, it's not just evidence of judgment approaching, it's evidence that Jesus is about to call his people home. Amir Tsarfati has said it clearly, the stage is being set. The actors are taking their positions. The props are in place. And for those of us in the audience who belong to the director, we're about to be called backstage before the curtain rises on the final act. That's not fear. That's the most profound hope available to a human being. And if you've walked through all 6 episodes of this series with me, I want to land somewhere that I hope stays with you. Every step in the prophetic sequence that clicks into place brings the next step closer. And for believers in Jesus Christ, the next step is not Ezekiel 38. It's not the tribulation. It's not the Antichrist. It's the blessed hope. Titus 2:13. Looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of the great God and our Savior Jesus Christ. We've spent 6 episodes tracing the sequence through the text, and through all of it, one phrase has guided us. Prophecy in sequence. Not sensationalism, not guessing, not pulling verses out of context and matching them to headlines. Sequence. Watching the prophetic order unfold in the exact pattern the text describes. And the pattern is unmistakable. The sequence is moving forward. It has never moved backward. And every step forward is a step closer to the moment when Jesus descends from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God. And the dead in Christ rise first. And then we who are alive and remain are caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we shall always be with the Lord. That's what this series has been about. Not fear, not anxiety, not doom. It's about watching the sequence that proves the author is still writing, and knowing that the next chapter he's writing is the one where he comes for us. And if you've been watching this series and you've never made a decision to follow Jesus, if you've seen the evidence, traced the sequence, felt the weight of it, today can be the day. It's not complicated. It's not a formula. It's a person. His name is Jesus. And he's offering you something no prophet, no nation, no army, and no headline can take away. Romans 10:9, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. This is where the sequence ends for the church, not in judgment, in rescue, in reunion, in the arms of the one who wrote every word of it before the foundation of the world. This is prophecy in sequence. And the sequence is pointing to one thing. Jesus is coming for his church. Maranatha, the Lord is coming soon. We've traced the complete sequence across 6 videos. Which step surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments.